Sharon, how old are you?
I will be 62 in August.
Where are you from?
I'm from High Hat, Kentucky. That's where I'm originally from. I lived in Martin, Kentucky for 37 years.
What's High Hat like?
High Hat's a little small community where everybody knowed everybody. At that time, we all knew each other. Everybody was friends. If you got in trouble with one parent, you was in trouble with the others. They didn't hesitate to scold you just like they did the others. We got out and played in the road. We lived up a holler. Our mom got out and played with us. We played hopscotch and jump rope and rode sleds in the wintertime. And we was just like, everybody was like family. What we done, we all done together.
What's it like now?
It's a little more, you don't know your neighbors now. It's scary. It's a scary time in society right now. You don't know your neighbors. You don't know who you can trust. You would never pick up a hitchhiker like you used to do. I would never, ever pick up a hitchhiker anymore.
So you used to pick up hitchhikers?
I have done that in the past. Somebody that I knew, yeah.
Tell that story.
Well, once, this was in Martin, and this man I had known for years because he was friends with my husband, and he was an alcoholic. I stopped and picked him up because I knew he was going to the bar, and he jumped onto me. He said, "You should never stop and pick up a drunk." So, you have to be careful of who you pick up, especially now, but he was a good guy. He always come to my husband's rescue anytime he needed him.
So what would you say, how long did you live in High Hat?
I lived in High Hat until I was 22.
Then where did you go?
I moved to Martin. That's when I married. I got married in 1984.
Who was your husband?
I was married to Randy Caudle. He was a volunteer firefighter in Martin, and he worked for the Food City in Prestonsburg. He was a manager down there, a front-end manager, and he passed away in 2010.
You got any good stories on him?
Oh, I could tell you a boatload of stories on him. But the best time, I guess, was when him and his dad went fishing and they decided to take a car that he had just purchased and took it down in a road and got stuck and had to call a wrecker to come and get them out.
Tell the story about when the green car, he told us that we should wait, let it warm up, but we didn't want to wait because we wanted to go to Lexington.
Oh, we'd got about maybe a mile and a half down the road, and actually you were with us, and you said, "Aunt Sharon, I don't want to go in this car. I don't think we'll make it." So we had to turn around and go get the truck. That was a green Toyota Corolla. I kept it for years. We wanted to let you drive it.
How many miles did you have on it? Because that Toyota is like
about,
the definition of Toyotas run forever.
That Toyota had about 210 on it, about 210,000 miles. And I believe it's still on the road today. I have seen one similar to it, and it still has the little Wildcat stickers in the windows. So I'm sure that's the car. I don't know how many motors it's had in it or anything, but it's still hanging together.
So when you moved to Martin with your husband, what was that like? What was married life like in Eastern Kentucky?
Well, I had to work. I've always worked. I worked in the local department stores, and he worked. He was a diabetic, and he was a severe diabetic, so we had to work just to make sure we could buy his medication until he got insurance. A few years after he worked at a good place, he got insurance, and it covered that. But I continued working, and it was just normal for around here.
What work did you do?
I worked for, I've worked a lot of jobs. I managed small dairy bars, several small dairy bars, and then I went to work for Super Dollar. That was in Martin. I worked there for about 12 or 13 years. And then I decided I'd try my hand working at the nursing home. So I applied for a job there, and I worked a week and a half. So I went back into retail and went to Family Dollar, and I worked at Family Dollar in Pikeville for 13 years.
So do you work now?
I have a part-time job now. It's just a few hours a week. It's like 8 hours a week.
What happened where you couldn't work in retail anymore?
I injured my back unloading freight. We were getting freight off a U-boat, and I hurt my back.
So in this area, it's not uncommon for someone to work jobs like that because, you know, education wasn't really that big when you were growing up.
Right. A lot of people in this area have jobs like that where they have to lift and strain and struggle. But if you work in a nursing home, even nurses, you know, they have to lift patients and stuff. So we had some hard jobs around here. Even for women, you know. Men have the hardest, I'm sure. But even for women, we had some hard jobs.
So what did you do when you were growing up, like as a child? What was your thing to do?
My big thing when I was little was I really liked to bake. One year for Christmas, I got an Easy Bake Oven. That was the big deal back then. I loved my Easy Bake Oven. And I liked to cut paper dolls out of the catalog. My brother, the brother next to me, he was kind of mean, and he would steal them just to be mean. He'd try to tear them up and stuff, but I learned to hide them, so I'd try to keep them away from him. Of course, I was mean to him too. Him and our little neighbor liked to play marbles all the time, and if they didn't let me play, I'd catch them hunkered down to shoot at the marbles in the ring, and I'd run by and kick them out.
So you said a holler earlier. For the people who don't know what a holler is, could you explain that?
It's usually a little dirt road off the main road where everybody knows everybody, and you can come and go as you like. And when I was growing up, you didn't fear anybody that wasn't a stranger. Now, if it was a stranger, you went straight home. You didn't hang around or talk to any strangers. But it's just a little dirt road, usually off the main highway.
What was your mom like?
My mom was a really good mom. She was. Now, she would punish you when you needed it. My brother, next to me, he got more whippings than I did, but don't think she didn't let me have it sometimes when I'd do things. One time I sneaked down the holler, and I seen a passenger train go by. First time in my life I'd ever seen a passenger train, and I was so excited I ran home and told Mommy about it. And after she got done whipping me, then she let me tell her about it, but I wasn't supposed to be down around the train tracks, so I got in some deep trouble that day.
Yeah, I used to get in trouble when she was alive for going down to the end of the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you tried to slip down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived on the hill then.
So there were trains. I've not seen a passenger train in this area ever. Some train tracks I don't even see trains run on anymore. I bet you've seen all of that.
We've seen a lot of trains then. That was the first and only passenger train that I seen, but I'm sure people that are a little bit older than me saw a lot of them. But I've saw a lot of coal trains now. We've had a lot of coal hauled out of here.
Yeah, we have. What did you do as a teenager? What was it like growing up as a teenager here?
Teenager, it was a little bit harder because my dad was really strict. But I did get to go places. Me and my friend, we used to go to the drive-in. We'd go out and eat. We'd go over to the lake, meet up with some people that we'd know, and getting water that we wasn't supposed to. But they used to have paddle boats over there. We used to go over there and ride the paddle boats.
So you sound like you have a different childhood than, I guess teenage years than some people. Sounds like you had some fun instead of having to go straight to work.
We did. We had, we worked too.
Oh, at the same time?
When I was a teenager, I worked, I would babysit for some of the neighbors. I would clean houses for the older ladies that couldn't do it themselves. I done little jobs like that, and they had a program at school. It's called the NYC program. I got to work on that a couple years, and I enjoyed that real well. Sometimes you'd get to work during the summer months, and you had to go different places and work. Like when Martin School got flooded, we got to go down there and clean that up one year. But it was, we had things to do when we was teenagers. Seems like we got to go to ball games. They would run a bus, and you could go to ball games at the high schools, and the gyms were full then.
Where'd you go to high school at?
McDowell.
Is that school still open?
No.
I went to McDowell until 5th grade, and that was as far as they went.
Well, I graduated. I started first grade at McDowell and went until I was probably in the second grade. My dad took a job in Michigan, and we went to Michigan and stayed 1 year. And I hated it, and we came back, and I finished the rest of my schooling there at McDowell.
So you did graduate high school?
I did. I graduated in 1979.
Did you go on to college or anything like that?
No, I didn't go to college.
That wasn't big then. It was...
Not really. A lot of people my age didn't go to college. So.
What's this area like in your views? How has it changed since you were younger till now? What's like?
It's changed tremendously. Like I said, you don't know your neighbors. People move in and out so fast. When I lived in Martin, there's a small housing project down there. Well, actually, there's 3. And people move in and out of those places so fast that you don't even get to know them. The same way a lot of people, I guess, are leaving because there's not a lot of work now. But it's changed tremendously. It's scary. You see people walking all the time, and you don't have any idea who they are and why they're carrying all their clothes or whatever they're carrying in their backpacks. You don't know.
Do you know what the name for them are? The
No.
derogatory term, I guess.
No.
They're called backpackers. It's because they carry their drugs in their backpack, and they shake them up as they walk to get them ready.
Oh, somebody did tell me that they called it shake and bake.
Yep.
But I'm not real familiar with drugs or drug
So drug
addicts.
use wasn't ever prominent in your life?
No, never. Not that I know of. If anybody close in our family was on drugs, I didn't know it. And I never used drugs.
So, would you say that is a problem now, though?
It's very much a problem now. You see too much of it. I don't know why, and I don't know where these people come from. You have no idea where they live, if they live in a home or if they live, I don't know where they would live, in abandoned properties, I guess. I don't know.
Well, with my job, I get to actually see they do live under bridges and they live in abandoned houses.
To me, that's sad. When I was young growing up, I could never imagine seeing a homeless person. And
They weren't, I mean, they probably were, but you never heard or saw of any of that growing up?
if there was any homeless people in our area, I didn't know it.
Do you know how many homeless people are here now?
Well, I couldn't imagine. I really couldn't imagine.
We do this thing called K-Count every year, and this year there was 337 just in this area. In the area
this-
we live in.
In just Floyd County or Floyd and Pike?
Yeah.
That's sad to me. That's sad. I lived in the city of Martin. I don't guess now that they have a population of 300. I'd say it's not that high. I know it's not that high. It wasn't that high in the last election.
What did tell the story of Martin? How they kind of blew it up and then put it on the hill.
Well, Martin started out as a good-sized town in this area. It was a good coal town. There was lots of businesses down there. Most everybody worked. And then they decided to move. It got flooded. Numerous times Martin flooded. And they decided to move it out of the floodplain. So they started blowing a hill off where the old fire station used to sit, and they wanted to move everything up there. They didn't really make enough space because it's all rock to put everything up there, but they do have a school, fire station, the senior citizens assisted living home, and the city hall up there now. And they're working on the road to fix, they're building all the other area up so it'll be out of the floodplain. What will happen to the people over in Cracker Bottom, I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like it's just pushing the water right over there. When they first started this project, I used to go to all the meetings because I lived there, and I kept asking, wouldn't it be better and cheaper and easier to build a flood wall and force it out? But we never got anywhere with that. They was determined to move everything.
That brings up another good point in this area. When did that project start?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what year it started. Let's see, I got married in '84. It's been at least 20 or 25 years that they started this.
See, that's a common problem I see in this area. We have a bunch of things that could improve life here, but it takes generations to get it done.
Oh yeah, they're still waiting on to buy people out. I have a friend that still lives down there. She's still waiting. And she gets flooded every time it rains, just about. Every time the creek comes over the banks, it gets in her house. Either in the basement and garage, or it has got almost to the top floor.
That's something that not a whole lot of people know about this area. When it rains here, the rainwater can't really go anywhere, so flooding. Talk about some floods that you've seen in your lifetime.
Oh, I've seen some big floods. I got married in '84. I got married in April the 28th, and on May the 6th we had a humongous flood. The house that I was living in, it got 18 inches in our house, and the back porch sat about 10 feet off the ground. And we would sit in the fire truck at the mouth of our holler and look out into the businesses, and right at the mouth of our holler was the business that I worked at. You could see the water was about between 6 and 7 foot high in there. You could see things just floating around, and people would ride boats through the town, and when they would ride those boats through, it would just, that water would just wave, and all the alarms was going off and everything. There've been some terrible, terrible floods down there.
So besides what Mother Nature can do here, with all the other problems of drug use and homelessness and the crime rate going up here, what do you think needs to happen for a change, a good change?
I think our law enforcement needs to crack down. They need to do something with these people that are doing things that, that are criminal. If they go to jail for drugs, they just keep them in there a few weeks and then they let them back out. I mean, it's like they're not being punished for the things that they're doing. Myself, I'd have them out here picking up trash and cutting these cemeteries that older people, the older people can't do that anymore. They used to do the cemeteries and all that just before Memorial Day, but those people are not able to now. And if you do something wrong, you need to be punished. And I think if our law enforcement would do more, our courts need to do more, and they need to crack down. I mean, that's just, and it wouldn't hurt to have more policemen around patrolling the area. We've had a recent problem with the 911 situation where there was a murder in Martin, and I don't know much about it. I just know what I've read, but it's a scary thought to think that you would call 911 and it takes them 3 hours to get there. even if, you know, it's not in a place where you can't find it. But I know when my mother was sick in 2018, we called an ambulance. It took almost an hour and 45 minutes for the ambulance to get there because they sent it from Pike County. And they sent them across a little mountain that was a little narrow road, and those guys didn't even know, they didn't have a clue where they was going to. The people need to be trained how to maneuver these roads and hollers and mountains to drive ambulances and police cars even.
It's different here in these mountains. Would you have traded it to live anywhere else?
I don't think I could live anywhere else. I mean, I've lived here most of my life. The only other place that I have lived is Michigan, and I choose Eastern Kentucky over Michigan anytime. I have relatives out there, but I like to visit, but I wouldn't want to live out there. I would rather stay here.
See, every time I've been to Michigan, they've been really nice to me, so I loved it.
My family's great out there. I love my family, but I guess just when we were there, there was riots and things going on.
Okay.
And when you're from the hills of Eastern Kentucky, you don't see many African Americans. And that was the first time that I had ever seen an African American, was when we went to Michigan.
That also talks about the diversity here. It wasn't very diverse when you were growing up, was it?
No, no. Very few. I mean, everybody was just like us, you know. We were just plain hillbillies.
Well, one last question for you. What's the best advice, or what's your best piece of advice you could give anyone?
My best advice would be, work hard, do your best at your job. If you do your best at your job, other people will see that and appreciate it. And be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Be good to your children. And be loyal to your family. And just thank God every day that you have the life that you have, that we're not one of those homeless people that don't have a place to stay.
Alrighty, thank you.
You're welcome.